It's time to break the news. Well, Spinny said it's not necessarily
official yet.
But it's expected to be official here shortly. Looking to sign, the Detroit Lions are passing game coordinator of the Denver Broncos, John Morton, as their new offensive coordinator. He was here in 22. Dan Campbell had some bright comments to say about him, said he contributed a lot to the offense. I believe that was Ben Johnson's first year as an offensive coordinator.
Yep.
Dan Campbell said he did a lot of stuff behind the scenes a lot of people don't know about. He formerly was the offensive coordinator of the New York Jets, where I believe they ranked 24th in scoring, 28th in total yards. But it was Josh McCown, it was Robbie Anderson, now chosen, as well as I think Brian Powell.
Yeah,
However,
we got the list
wait,
right here.
Chris.
Oh, well.
However, I think that's the thing I was going to say anyway.
Yeah.
The career high numbers.
Yeah, I was going to ask
Josh McCown, career high yards, touchdowns, Powell yards. I don't know about Robbie Anderson.
do you want the good or the bad with him first? With Johnny Morton.
Give me the bad. I went over some good just now. A little bit good.
Okay, so the bad of Johnny Morton is why he got fired and the reason he got fired, cited by ESPN's article on him. If you could throw that up, Chris. This is from Rich Chimmy of ESPN. He said,
Rich Chimmy, bro.
This is when he was fired in 2018 from the New York Jets. He says Bulls felt Morton was too pass reliant, a sentiment echoed by the locker room. Several players were unhappy with his play calling throughout the season. ESPN reported on January 1st. He thinks he's in New Orleans Saints playing in a dome, one player said, alluding to Morton's previous team. Members of the coaching staff also clashed with Morton, sources said. They expressed concern about his ability to design and execute a consistent running game. And, so the ESPN was reporting that he was fired from the Jets job because he didn't run the ball enough.
This is got to be torture for the people who thought Ben Johnson didn't run Jahmyr Gibbs enough in that Commanders game. I don't know how I feel about this one yet, Spinny, to be honest with you. I'm kind of tossing back and forth with it. I think in a league where you're seeing more and more just young, innovative minds take over the league in terms of offensive play callers, it was a little bit head-scratching or not even concerning, but just you're taken back a little bit when you see this 55-year-old guy step in. And then you mentioned that, right, not running the ball enough, when that's kind of the bread and butter of this football team, because even when Jared Goff does get going, it's most likely going to be on a play action. However, I do trust Dan Campbell. I do think this team is stacked on the offensive side of the ball. From the offensive line, you have two amazing running backs, one that's literally top three, and he's not three. You have obviously all-pro receiver in St. Brown, a kid that's still sitting in Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta. I just don't think you could really F this up, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you got a lot of weapons, and that was the good of Johnny Morton was this tweet from Nick Bianchi.
Nolan
Bianchi, excuse me. Yeah, he says, is the 2017 Jets offense under Morton. Josh McCown, career high in passing yards and touchdowns. Bilal Powell, career high in rushing yards and touchdowns. Robbie Anderson, career high in touchdowns, second most yards of his career. Jermaine Kearse, career high in receiving yards and touchdowns. And Austin Seferian-Jenkins, career high in receiving yards. So you love to hear that. That's great. That's getting the most out of subpar performers. The best guy on that list is probably Bilal Powell.
Yeah.
But you also look at, in that 2017 season, Bilal Powell's career high in rushing yards was 772, and his career high in touchdowns was 5. And then you look at Josh McCown in that 2017 season. His career high in passing yards was 2,926, and his career high in passing touchdowns was 18. Yeah. So it's not like they were breaking records with these guys, but it was getting bad guys to perform better than they have in their career, if you want to look at it that way.
Which is good. Yeah, honestly, you've taken guys that bad collectively too, and you're able to make them all show something or flash something. I think that's you're doing pretty well. Now, the clashes behind the scenes, maybe there's some questions about that, but you got Dan Campbell, who was a hell of a leader in that locker room, and it probably punch him in the face.
Yeah,
I don't think he'd be dealing with any of that type of stuff. The vertical aspect of his offense, though, is the only thing that makes me concerned, because he does like to take a lot of deep shots. We saw it this year with Bo Nix, although he wasn't the play caller, but just in the past between Robbie Chosen Anderson and what we saw Bo Nix, that's just, it's not JG's game per se.
And I'm salty in the Woodward Sports Chat is spamming 3rd and 1, pass it twice, because that is what was cited
In the article?
In the article was they had a 1st and goal from like the 1.
But can
And they ended up kicking the field goal after going 3 incomplete pass plays in a row. That was the what Todd Bowles said, that was the breaking point of John Morton's
had to see him fucking spaz.
offensive coordinator regime in the New York Jets was against the Carolina Panthers. They had a 1st and goal from the 1 or the 2, and he threw the ball 3 times, all 3 going incomplete, and they kicked the field goal.
So, for sure, horrendous decision making there. That sounds awful.
Yeah.
That's not Jahmyr Gibbs. It's not Panay. I'm saying
5 touchdown Bilal Paul. Look out.
Yeah, we got a different makeup over here. We got different people to work with over here. I think you would want to run the ball when you got a kid like Jahmyr Gibbs back there. How do you not want to give that kid the ball at all times, knowing what he could do at any time he touches it? 70-yard touchdown we saw against the Vikings? Or no, that one was against the Tennessee Titans. But I think there's some nuance there when you start having those conversations. Did he have what he needed to get the job done that way?
Yeah, and I think having Hank Fraley as your offensive line coach and run game coordinator is an extremely big factor. If you do bring in a guy like John Morton, who is notorious for not running the ball enough, I think having a guy like Hank Fraley who knows this run scheme, who helped design this run scheme, who has implemented this run scheme with multiple different offensive linemen and running backs in this Detroit Lions organization, I think that is an extremely symbiotic relationship he needs to have with John Morton when it comes to calling this offense. And real quick, Chris, Dante151, the Woodward Sports Chat, says, I think Tanner Strand wasn't ready just yet for the OC position, so I fully understand this hire when it goes through. And yeah, it's not confirmed yet. Adam Schefter did report that it is in the works.
Expected or something.
It is expected to be done, but it is not confirmed yet. But yes, that is John Morton.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to take it, was the Tanner Strand. So I did want to bring in that super chat there. Because that's the angle I'm fascinated with. I don't think this would cause a huge kerfuffle in the locker room, if Tanner Strand. But we did all kind of have that expectation. And, him not stepping up to that, I think that just means what Dante151 is getting at here, and that he would. It's not that he's not incapable, it's that he just probably wasn't ready for this position, and they looked around the league and they saw an opportunity to upgrade. But I do wonder that, because I go back to the Dan Campbell, who was the coach that he fired 4 games
Anthony Lynn.
Yes, Anthony Lynn.
Yeah.
So that's why I have faith, because ultimately Dan Campbell's the guy too to see if 5-6 weeks into the season we're not where we need to be. Let's make the change. So that's why I have all the confidence in the world that this is a very low-risk, high-reward move to me, because I've seen Dan Campbell, if things aren't going right, have a good pulse for this team and make the executive decision and it work out. So there's a track record there to bring in an outside hire.
And this is not, like we said, it's not confirmed yet.
It's not
confirmed yet. But this is a guy that's familiar with Dan Campbell. He's worked with him in New Orleans. He's worked on this Lions staff before. So it's a guy he's comfortable with. Obviously, he brought him in here to have an interview with him. We'll see what happens. But per Adam Schefter, all the signs are pointing that it's going to be him.
And his offensive pedigree, too. I mean, the one thing I like about him the most is that he's worked with so many great coaches. He's been with Pete Carroll. He's been with Jim Harbaugh. Dan Campbell, Sean Payton.
Yeah.
So many guys that have done great things in this game that you learn little things from here and there. When he was with Pete Carroll, I think they averaged 30 points a game when he was offensive coordinator of USC before Lane Kiffin came in, took over play calling. And he's a Michigan guy. There's that little piece of it. He's from Auburn Hills, graduated from Western Michigan, played wide receiver. That's probably why he likes to pass the ball so goddamn much. But I just don't know if he was necessarily equipped to run the ball as much as we'd like to here in Detroit. But like I said, you got Jahmyr Gibbs, Penei Sewell, and the rest of this offensive line. There's no way in hell you're not running that thing.
And if it's not broken, don't fix it. You know what I'm saying? We know the recipe to success for this Lions offense. And in the 3 losses this year, Jared Goff threw the ball on average 51 times in those games. Jahmyr Gibbs has to be a top 5 player in the league next year. Yeah, that's so easy. And you have I would say the second, the best number 2 running back in David Montgomery. So you have 2 really good backs. Vaki moving forward. Carries. Let's see what he's going to do. But yeah, it's just it's so obvious for this team to have success that you cannot get caught up throwing the ball too much. And as we've seen this year, the times that we lose, Goff is throwing the ball over 50 times a game. And I want to just shout out, I know he's in the Broncos organization, one thing that slept on in Bo Nick's game that Jared Goff doesn't have is his ability to run.
Yeah.
He had 41 first downs this year with his legs. Jared Goff doesn't have that. So that was able to extend drives for the Broncos this season. Jared Goff doesn't have that. So we'll see what comes
you're
into
going to come
play
into
here.
this offense, you know it's going to be run heavy. It has to be. Like I don't care if you're Joe Montana getting a job as an offensive coordinator for the Lions. You know you got to run the ball a lot with this team, with how it's built, and with the strength of it's obvious. And obviously you can't run the ball a lot when you turn it over and you're playing from behind. You're going to have to throw the ball more. So we'll see what happens. If he even gets the job. Not Johnny Morton.
John Morton.
John Morton.
He may go by Johnny, but we're not doing that.
He may go by, but he's not the Johnny Morton you're thinking of.
Yeah. I don't want to confuse anybody with that one.
And a real quick tidbit before we go to break here.
I'll get one more in too.
Okay, you go. Mine's nothing about Johnny Morton. So.
Okay. I just think the way Dan Campbell expressed, he wanted things very similar, very to the same. If they've been doing it the past 3 years, if there are concerns with him, like Dan Campbell absolutely had that same conversation with him. Like, we're gonna run the fucking ball. Like, you're coming here, you want this job. This is how I want it done, and I fully expect it to be executed that way again because you have the tools to get it done.
Yeah, and before we go to break, just a quick update to everybody. Tress Way has more passing yards in the conference championship than Dak Prescott in their careers. So,
What'd you say?
Just that for you. In their careers, Tress Way has more passing yards in conference championship games than Dak Prescott.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Has Dak ever been on one?
Nope.
Yeah.
That's I saw
By the way, I saw there's a super chat. Desert Storm 11 or Station 11 asked Chiefs or CJGJ Chiefs. You gotta know. I'm taking the Chiefs. I want the Chiefs.
I don't want that. I don't want the Eagles to have some momentum. Sorry, Spencer. Like, I don't want them to have that under their belt this year. You know,
Yeah.
The Eagles in the NFC. Like, if anyone's gonna dethrone the freaking Chiefs, like, story 30 for 30, have it perfectly written for the Lions to do so.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
Coming off a three-peat.
Yeah.
The most dominant franchise the NFL has seen.
Patrick Mahomes has never beaten Jared Goff.
Yeah.
God, he's so good.
Mahomes goes down. Aiden Hutchinson.
I saw a podcast say this. I don't know who it was, but I think they're from Philly. Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts both were born, grew up, went to college, became pros, and played in an NFC championship game since the Cowboys have been there.
Sheesh. Jaden Daniels, he's a rookie. Get it. Jalen Hurts been in the league for
they're
a
like
minute
the same
now.
age. Jaden Daniels.
And Jalen Hurts played at multiple different colleges as well.
Jaden Daniels like 24, 25.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Daniels is 24.
That makes a lot more sense why he's like so.
It's the same with Bo Nix.
Same with Bo Nix. Exactly. Yeah, that makes way more sense.